Do not move to these Austin, Texas suburbs unless you can handle these things. Let's start out with Liberty Hill, Texas, located about 35 miles from downtown Austin, depending where you live in the city. And one of the main points that a lot of people that come to visit Austin, Texas, is that it's too far away from downtown Austin or from the Austin scene. And that is just the reality of living in Liberty Hill, Texas, is that you're not gonna be near downtown Austin. But obviously, if you're choosing this area to live in, is because you don't need that access to downtown Austin, and you don't have to commute all the time to downtown Austin. Either you work from home or you only want to visit downtown on the weekend. So that is probably the number one feedback that we get from clients that found me here on YouTube, and they come into town and they say, hey, there's really not a whole lot going on. And that brings me to point number two. There really isn't much going on in Liberty Hill, Texas. It's a very, very small town. It's got kind of that rural feel. Again, there's not a whole lot going on. They do have beautiful communities. One of them is Santa Rita Ranch. And I'm sure that you've checked out this video that I've made about Santa Rita Ranch before, a very in-depth look about what Santa Rita has to offer and how many builders are in the community, all the amenities. And this is the perfect master plan community for you and your family. It has a ton of amenities for you and your kids, and it continues to grow to this day. It's actually one of the top selling master plan communities. There's always three that are in the top, and Santa Rita is always at the top or second behind a couple more. So this is definitely a community to check out. I actually have a client that found me here on YouTube, and he is getting his keys this Thursday to his brand new home. Beautiful brand new home that he built from the ground up. We looked at different builders. They decided on Santa Rita Ranch. He built it from the ground up. So that means that he selected everything in the house, all the finishes, all the colors, everything that you can think of. And now he's moving on Thursday, and him and his family are really happy because this is technically his dream home and a dream master plan community. So with Liberty Hill, Texas, the distance from downtown Austin is very far for some people. Also, there's not a whole lot of things to do. And then another thing to keep in mind is that the tax rate can vary from community to community. However, there is a lot of development coming to the area, not as much as other suburbs, but you do have beautiful communities like Santa Rita Ranch. Another one to mention, and I've made a video about this, make sure to check it out right here. They have beautiful builders in this community like Perry Homes, Tri-Point, Lancy Homes. These communities are definitely starting to pop up. Also, if you're looking to buy a resale home, let's say on acreage, let's say that you're like, hey Julio, I'm looking for a 1 acre, 5 acre, 10 acre. Keep in mind that a lot of these homes are either going to be, more than likely, they're either going to be on septic or on a well. And then usually electric and gas will be a separate propane tank. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. If you're not used to that, or if you're intimidated by that, that is something to keep in mind. Doesn't mean that you can't do it. We have plenty of clients that either live on a septic, which functions just like city sewer. It may need some maintenance every once in a while, but it functions just like it. Or a well, that gets a little bit more complicated, but that is definitely something to keep in mind. If you're looking for land, that is definitely something to expect, or if you're looking for some more space. But if that is your budget, you know, let's say in the high, close to $1 million or above $1 million, let's say starting in the 700,000, there's definitely options for some space, right? More acreage, more space. Let's say you want to have some livestock or horses, things like that. Liberty Hill definitely has that to offer. But some of the pushback that we get, those are the number two things: far away from Austin, or that there's not a whole lot of things to do. Number two, we're gonna move on to Kyle, Texas, approximately about 25 miles south of downtown Austin, depending where you live in Kyle. Now, even though I'm a big fan of Kyle and all the big developments that are coming to the area, the brick and mortar mixed-use development, the Vive mixed-use development, Sprouts is bringing a $1.1 million store, Costco just came into the area, and many, many more developments. Tesla, I believe, is expanding some of the warehouse space in this area as well. So I think a lot of new exciting developments are coming to the area, but some of the feedback that I get from people is that, hey, we're still too far away from downtown Austin. The traffic, especially the traffic, can be pretty heavy going into Austin. For example, either just leaving Kyle, kind of getting into Buda, or just the area of South Park Meadows. If you live here, you know what I'm talking about. It gets very, very congested. Of course, I-35, they're expanding it right now, or I don't really know what they're doing. I think they're building like an overpass over that area. And as you know, I-35 is always under construction, no matter where in Texas, I-35 is always under construction. But that is definitely something to keep in mind. If you have to commute, traffic can be pretty heavy going into Austin or coming out of Austin. In that area in particular, that South Park Meadows area, sometimes as you get closer into downtown, can get pretty heavy. So that is some of the feedback that we've gotten. It's like, man, you know, I'm stuck in traffic most of the time, or I have to leave extra early in order to get into the city. That is definitely something to keep in mind. Another comment that we get sometimes is that Kyle's still developing, especially that Kyle Buda area, especially on the east side of I-35. They're like, hey, Julio, there's not a whole lot going on this side. I feel like there's more going on the west side. So on the west side, you have the Costco, you have the Torchy's, you know, you have a Chipotle, all those things, the H-E-B's. The main shopping area, it's usually on the west side of I-35. Although from some of the communities on the east side of Kyle, you're only like 10, 15 minutes away from that shopping, right? But hey, some people like convenience and some people like to see that on that side of I-35. So if you, for some reason, are attracted to a community on the east side of I-35, that is something to keep in mind. Although, for example, there's one community, Sunfield, for example, even though it's on the east side of I-35, huge master plan community, beautiful community, it only takes you about 10, well, depending where you live in Sunfield, let's say 10 to 12 minutes to the nearest H-E-B. 10 to 12 minutes from downtown Buda, which is a really cool spot if you live in that area. But that is definitely one of the, besides traffic, that is one of the comments, that if you live on the east side of I-35, there's not a whole lot going on for some of the residents of that area. And then finally, some of the tax rates in the area. Now, there are some communities that are lower, but some of the new construction communities, which I know a lot of you people reach out for those homes in particular, the tax rate can be high. It can be anywhere from 2.5 to maybe even 2.6, 2.7, depending on the community. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. Lately, I've had a lot of investors reach out for this area because of the affordability of this particular area. You can actually find homes in kind of the Kyle, Buda, mile, let's say, I don't know, 5 to 8 mile radius, homes under $300,000, which appeals to both a first-time home buyer that has a limited budget or an investor. I actually just had a conversation with a guy that reached out. He found me here on YouTube, and he lives in Australia, and he's looking to invest, yes, I just said that, in Australia, and he's looking to invest in this area. And he's attracted to the affordability of this area, that you can find homes under $300,000, brand new homes, and that is still real today. So if you're an investor or if you're a first-time home buyer, I think this can be a great opportunity. Personally, I'm excited about the Kyle area. I think the city is doing a great job of promoting development, especially business development, more residential development, and they're trying to attract as much development as possible. I think I said that 3 times. But yeah, the city has been promoting a lot of this, and I think that bodes well for the residents, and it bodes well for the economy of Kyle in general. So they also have a lot of activities. Really funny festival that they have is one called the Kyle Festival, meaning that they bring people named Kyle from all over the country or world, and they try to beat the Guinness World Record to see how many Kyles they can get in one place. I think they did it this past year, and they were not able to beat that, but that's pretty cool. And then they have other activities in Buda, and I grouped these 2 suburbs together because Buda is a little bit smaller. And in Buda, they have other events. They have a really cool downtown. They have a farmer's market, things like that. So this is definitely a suburb to consider, but those are some of the pushbacks that I get from people that visit, or even from the residents in Kyle, is the traffic. You're closer to downtown Austin, but you're not super close. But again, if you're working all day, every day during the week, you're more than likely not gonna go into downtown Austin during the week. You're probably gonna save it for the weekend, correct? So on the weekends, it can also be hit or miss with I-35, it can definitely get congested on the weekends depending on the time, but there's definitely less traffic. And then finally, like I said, if you're looking to live on the east side of I-35, there's less development there. But again, Cal, I don't see Cal stopping anytime soon. It has been voted one of the fastest growing cities in the entire country. I think it was top 5 in the last few years. And also, another thing that I forgot to mention is that it's really close to San Antonio. So if you actually want to go for the day or for the weekend to San Antonio, you can do that also. So you have that easy access. You not only have access to downtown Austin, but you also have access to San Antonio and everything that San Antonio has to offer. And then also, on the west side of Cal, you have easy access to the Hill Country. So the Hill Country expands, kind of from the Austin area, north central Austin, and then it expands all the way to San Antonio as well. So you can take advantage of that area. There's some parks there. There's definitely some water holes as well if you like that. So definitely something to keep in mind. But again, if you can't handle those things, then maybe Kyle may not be the city or the suburb for you. Number 3, and this may come as a surprise, but I am talking about Austin, Texas, as a suburb, as a city, whatever you want to call it. And this may not be the place that you want to live in. Maybe you want to live out in the suburbs. One of the reasons is that because a lot of you reach out over YouTube, you're looking for new construction, you're looking for new homes. There's really not any new construction in the city of Austin. And hang on a minute. I know that there is new construction, but what I'm talking about is a master plan community with a pool, some trails, a park, things like that. There's really not anything going on within the city of Austin. And I know that the city of Austin keeps expanding and expanding. They annex more and more areas, but for the most part, there's not a whole lot of master plan communities. However, if you've seen this video, that is one option that is down south. And then of course, Easton Park, you've seen some of those videos. People that have reached out over YouTube, they either come from California or the Seattle area. They love Easton Park. So there are those pockets, right, that are a little bit further away from the city. But for the most part, when we're talking about really close to the downtown, there's not a whole lot going on. Of course, you have condos. There's condos rising up. I feel like every single day we have, we call it Crane City. So if you're looking for a condo, if you're looking for that city lifestyle to be as close as possible to downtown Austin and everything that it has to offer, there are some options as well. Now, if you're looking for a resale home and you want to be close to that downtown area, there's definitely a lot of options. I would say, remember that the median home price in the city of Austin is above $500,000. So that is more or less the price point that you're going to be looking at. I've had several couples and families that have found newly remodeled homes in the Austin area, but something to keep in mind is to make sure that you perform your due diligence, and obviously we would help you with that. Let's say if you're looking for a newly remodeled home, you don't know, necessarily the investor or the flipper that did the work, so we want to make sure that we perform all the inspections necessary to inspect the house and make sure that it was remodeled correctly. So that is the number one thing. But there are a ton of houses in the city of Austin with a lot of character, a lot of history, and then as well as newly remodeled. And we have contacts with investors in town that find an older home and they completely remodel it, and you could potentially even have access to that home before it hits the market. It would just be a matter of coming to an agreement with that flipper or that investor, and you may even get to pick out some of the finishes, and that is something that we can help you with as well. We know a couple of those investors here in town that do that all around town. More specifically, in the 78745 zip code, 78747, those kind of zip codes that are close to Austin, but you're not super close at the same time. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. You're not necessarily going to find a ton of new construction. Now, when it comes to other types of new construction, besides those two communities, Easton Park and Cascades, is that you also find very small builders that, let's say they come in, they found perhaps an abandoned home or a home that's not livable anymore. They come in, they take that home away, and then they build a brand new home on top of it. And we've seen that, especially in the last few years, we see a lot of that new construction. But remember, the median home price in the city of Austin is above $500,000. So you're going to be looking at anywhere from 600 to obviously into the millions and above, depending on the area. But that is definitely the price point that you have to consider. And that is one of the things, one of the pushbacks, that the city of Austin may not be for you if you're not in that price bracket, right? The affordability goes down technically because the price point will come up if you're looking for that type of place. Another thing is that you may not want that lifestyle, right? The city of Austin is very small, especially kind of the older city of Austin. The streets can be small. It can feel kind of congested, especially during rush hour and traffic hours. So this may not be what you're looking for. Of course, if you work from home, then it doesn't really matter, but that is definitely something to keep in mind. One of the benefits is that you have access to all the amenities that downtown has to offer. Obviously, Lady Bear Lake, Town Lake and the trails, South Congress, all the good food spots on South Congress, on the east side, you name it, tons of spots to take advantage of. And then of course the nightlife, if you're still looking for that, if you're a young professional and you're like, hey Julio, I'm looking to still go out once or twice a week and I want to have easy access to that. I actually helped one of my clients find a condo, I believe it was on East 5th, if I'm not mistaken. Beautiful condo, giant floor-to-ceiling windows. It was built in the last 5 years, so it was pretty much brand new. He fell in love with the condo. He's still a single individual that's still looking for that nightlife and the events, the concerts, things like that. And he's within 8 minutes from downtown Austin. So those options are definitely possible. So it all depends on what you're looking for, and it all depends on what your tolerance is, right? As far as where you want to live, but those options are definitely possible. Whether you're looking for more of the master plan community feel, you have a family, or you're just looking for a more quiet place, then Liberty Hill might be that place for you, right? You're about 35 miles from downtown Austin, but it's super quiet, family oriented, that's definitely more of that feel. And if we go down south, Kyle, it's growing a lot, it's exploding, so there's a lot of exciting developments coming to the area, very, very affordable compared to Austin, or Austin itself. If you're still looking for that vibe that Austin has, which it is changing, those are definitely 3 suburbs to consider. And you may not like the suburbs based on the reasons that I just gave you, but if you have any other questions about these, or if you're looking to relocate to this area, or if you live here in the Austin, Texas area, or in Texas, and you want to move to some of these different suburbs or any other suburbs, you know what to do. Make sure to give me a call, shoot me a text, or schedule that Zoom so that we can help you through this process. Until next time, adios.